That's so cool, actually. For any perfect dodge enthusiasts on the dual blades, I think this new Mizutsune setup is absolutely insane. And here's my setup. Here's the active skills. We got attack boost going, slicked blade, new skill. We'll get into that in a second. Crit boost level 1, crit element level 1, maxed out burst, weakness exploit, constitution, evade window, evade extender, marathon runner, adrenaline rush. And the full 4 set for the Mizutsune set, and the Odogaron helmet, which is always my favorite helmet. On my first build I had this one on too, I love it. You can see the blades already in the background. I'm running Evening Dusk, which is from the new boss Mizutsune as well, just like the set. And the really cool part about it is that it has something called Slicked Blade. Now there's something weird going on a little bit with this. Let's read it first. Temporarily increases affinity when wet or when inflicted with Bubble Blight. And this gives you 3 levels of that, so it gives you 9% affinity when wet and 21% affinity while afflicted with Bubble Blight. So the weird thing is, it doesn't stack, as I said earlier, but look at my affinity currently, 15%, that's just the baseline of the weapon. If I go into a combat stance, for this for example, and I dodge around a little bit, I get afflicted by Bubble Blight. Now I have 36% affinity, which is the 21% from the second part, right? But if I go into water, I also get the wet part as well. So when you go to your tent and you grill a custom meal for yourself, there is something called a swimmer meal. Also, first of all, just because we're already here, before we get into anything else, these 4 items here, even these 2 down here, I guess these 6 items are amazing for this build. Stamina consumption lowering, more dodge, or more damage. All of these are amazing. I'm just taking something random that I don't want. But here comes the weird part. This jeweled mullet roe that gives you swimmer meal as a buff actually is applied the moment you also have Bubble Blight for some reason. So let's just do this, and you can see it when I go outside again. So now I'm outside, I do the dodging again. Now look on the right side. Food skill swimmer meal has activated. First of all, it doesn't show up here for some reason. I don't know why. And also, I technically don't count as wet at the moment, right? Because of Bubble Blight, and if I go into water, I get the additional affinity for it. I don't understand what's going on here, if this is bugged. Am I supposed to get the bonus 9% from being wet at all times? Or is that just... I don't understand. Let me do this again. I have Bubble Blight and I'm wet, and now I have 45%, right? I don't know. I don't know how this... It makes no sense to me. Why I count as wet for the buff food, but I don't count as wet for the 9% bonus affinity from Slick Blade. So now that we talked about the weapon, and I can show you the decorations again, I have level 3 attack, level 2 attack, and a crit gem. So you have max out attack with that and critical boost 1. It's as good as it gets. I'm currently running the Odogaron helmet for 2 burst. But to be honest, if you don't really care about burst that much, I think our dual blade maxed out burst is amazing. Because we benefit so much from both attack and element, and this one does both. It's very easy for us to stack it as well, so I really like having 2 burst, but you could also replace this with something else. Same with the decoration. I think the decoration here is just for more stamina management. You could also be running or evade window, evade extender. You could be running 3 counter strike. You could swap out these evade extenders that I have here for more evade window. So you could run something like this, which is probably the safest bet if you're not very used to dodging a lot. You could also run 3 counter strike to max that out immediately and get 25 attack whenever you get hit by a monster. So if you're not speed running, this is also really, really strong. You have a lot of freedom here of what decorations you want on these 2 pieces specifically. So on the helmet for the burst and the mail of the Mizutsune set, both of these you have a lot of freedom. Well, on the decorations anyways. Mizutsune set, I would always run these 4 pieces on beta. So let's talk about the 4 set Mizutsune first. This one puts Bubble Blight on you, as I showed you earlier, which gives you the big effects from the weapon. And it doesn't really work like that on 2 sets. So I would always, if you're running this weapon, I would always run a 4 set, specifically these 4 pieces, which you need. So but this is basically your condition to run these weapons, essentially. All of these pieces are pretty good for dual blade again. Constitution for stamina, burst is amazing, evade window, evade extender, amazing for dual blade, and especially this setup, which we will get into in a second. Constitution, again, stamina management is great, and another burst, which is also great for us. Now you can pair that with your dual blade dodge mode, which gives you a massive amount of attack, and you can pair that with the newly updated or upgraded evasion mantle, which is even more damage, and that's why I have this decoration here. You want at least 1 adrenaline rush, because the first level gives you the most amount, so everything after that is a little bit less, right? So the first level gives you 10 attack when you're dodging, which is already a massive amount. I wouldn't really run more on this because you want crit, and we don't have that much crit on the setup because we don't run Gore Magala, right? No antivirus. So having at least a decent amount of weakness exploit is quite important. You could also run more agitator, for example, but weakness exploit is just better for crit anyways. And yeah, you have two tenderizers here, twice weakness exploit with more evasion and sprinter. And as I said earlier, these 3 top gems here, you can decide for yourself. Do you want more stamina? Do you want to play Counter Strike for more attack? Do you want more evade window? Do you want evade extender for, you know, longer range dodges? Up to you. It's complete preference, I think. You could even run ambush. Like if you're running a build like this that relies on dodging for speedrunning purposes, ambush is also really good. You could run 3 ambush on this, no problem. So now let's talk about how this actually works and why it's actually insanely strong if you're good at dodging. Let's just enable this and enable the slicked blade. So what you see right now is simply the bubble blight, which is the 21% crit from slicked blade without the wetness, and my 238 attack and 190 element. Now let's see what that looks like when I have all of my dodge buffs going. No consumables, just dodging and burst, okay? Let's get that fully going. And what are we looking at? 362, 310. That is a lot of attack. And there's a lot of element even too. Although the element isn't really that important here. But this is a really strong setup that actually does a lot of damage. It doesn't require a lot of setup. Doesn't really require consumables. You can get more out of it even if you're playing this in a watery area. And the damage output of this, as you can see, is pretty crazy. And that's kind of the setup. So what the evade mantle, what the evade mantle actually does, which is crazy, evading just before an attack triggers a special evasive maneuver, which we're kind of already doing on dual blades. Upon success, grants a temporary attack boost and alternative combos. I don't know about these alternative combos, but the attack boost I can definitely feel. From 238 to 360 something, just from dodging and burst. We have good crit, although, you know, you could even run more if you wanted. If you find a way to run even more crit, it's probably even better. And you can do a lot of damage. You have insane evade. Again, in this setup, for example, I have full evade window. You could also run full evade extender or whatever you want. Very flexible. A lot of damage. The only negative about this build is probably that it's water element. And that you have to dodge for it to do the most damage. So you want to keep your perfect dodge buffs up at all times. Which isn't very difficult if you have 5 evade window, for example. Right? So if you want to be very fast, I would recommend going 2 jumping jewels to max out your evade, range, and then 1 evasion jewel on top of that, which gets you to evade window 4 and evade extender 3, which makes you the fastest character, the fastest person in every single group you will ever see easily, because evade extender on dual blades demon mode just feels absolutely amazing. You could also just go a little bit more stamina instead of the evade window 4, because you get so much evade window already from the evade mantle as well, for example. So it's not really necessary to have level 4 evade window. You could go more stamina, you could go ambush, you could go counterattack, you could do whatever. But if you... I personally really love that Demon Dash looks like this. I think that is so much fun, and you're zooming around the map and you're just slicing around. That's my recommendation. So I hope that helped. This is one of the 2 build guides for the title update 1. There will be another build guide for the other weapon, which I already have, but I don't have all of the pieces together yet. But I already have the Blazing Leal weapon as well, and there will be a build about that in the next video. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for hanging out, and I hope this dodge setup was helpful. Have a nice day. Peace.